Let's roll.
Yeah, what happened on the miscommunication that led to the timeout that had to be called?
Yeah, we just had a miscommunication on a personnel grouping. Really never should have happened. So, anytime that happens, obviously, it's not great. We ended up getting to the play, that we wanted to, but something that you obviously don't want to do.
Right.
Brian, can you take us into the sequence after the penalty to back you up to 1st and 20?
For sure. Yeah.
Those three plays and why you called them in the game.
Yeah. So, when you get in those type of 4-minute situations, there's three different things that you're managing at that point. I think the first is obviously down and distance. You're managing the clock. Obviously, you don't want to try to give them the ball back. And then you're managing the kick line. So, all three of those things really come into play. So, the first down, we get 4, 2nd and 16. Buddha makes a fantastic play. It was a play that had a chance to be really, really big and be a big hit. Credit to Buddha Baker. He made a fantastic play on that particular play. And then, what ends up happening is now you lose 4 yards, and so you're 3rd and 20, right? So the priorities of what you're trying to manage really change, like, each play throughout that sequence. So now you get yourself into a 3rd and 20, and you want to put yourself in a position to score points, because that's not obviously an area on the field where you're going to punt the ball. And with the way the wind was in that stadium on that side, like, we had to get to the kick line. So that was the 3rd and 20. It obviously has multiple options on that play call. If you get a pressure look, that's what we were going to. And if we didn't get a pressure look, then the play would have been something else. So, the guys executed, what we tried to do. Unfortunately, just weren't able to get it done.
Is there any validity to the argument that maybe that's just overthinking, like worrying about all those things where it's, you just operate the offense, utilizing your best players, getting it to A.J. Brown, just trying to attack and score?
Yeah, I think anytime something doesn't work, like, obviously, I think that's a very normal and natural reaction. So, but, I think we've played situations like that very, very similar when you talk about 3rd and super long in field goal range close to the line. That happens. But, to answer your question, anytime that something does not work, then, obviously, you kind of go reassess and be as critical as possible and say, I wish, or maybe we could have, or I could have done something different. And maybe that would have worked and maybe it wouldn't have, but I think that's the nature of the game that we play.
Second and 16, you mentioned clock management in terms of perhaps yielding a longer 3rd down with a run in that situation. How much were you balancing the clock versus gaining substantial yardage there to make a easier 3rd down?
Yeah, it's both, right? I mean, that was a play we've run over the last couple of weeks for some really explosive runs. It had a 15-yarder, had a 10-yarder earlier in the game on a very similar play. So, that one, with those guys in that situation, 2nd and 16, you try to catch them off guard playing with a 2nd and pass call and see if you can pop one and get some yardage to get you into a safe spot to where you can go be super aggressive on 3rd down once you're in comfortable field goal range. And, we ended up losing 4, and that kind of just changed the mode and the mindset for the 3rd down play.
Why wasn't A.J. more involved in the second half? Why wasn't A.J. more involved in the second half?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't run a whole bunch of plays. He had, I don't know, I guess 1 catch. Yeah, so, he had 1 catch in the second half. I don't remember exactly every single pass that we ran in the second half. But, A.J.'s a great player, and we gotta force him the ball sometimes and make sure to get him going.
When you talk about the kick line on that 3rd and 19 or whatever it was, you were, I think, at the 30 at that point, so you're still within Jake's range. Of course, at that spot, it'd be a little more difficult kick than you get a few yards there. But is the conservative call there more about the fear of taking a sack in that situation?
Yeah, well, you really, like, a sack right there, effectively gives you 0 points probably in that case. So, yeah, you want to give yourself the opportunity to score points. And, you know, when you have those third and super long situations, they all play very, very differently. You know, I think, for example, you take a look at a couple weeks ago, we had a 3rd and 20, and we called a go route. But, I mean, the ball was just in a completely different area of the field with a different circumstance in terms of how to manage the game. So, you know, points are obviously at a premium at that point, and you know, that was the direction.
Is Nick in your ear telling you whether to be aggressive or conservative there?
We have constant communication in terms of the game management and you know, how we want to execute different scenarios and different outcomes that come throughout the course of the game, whether that's 2 minutes, 4 minutes, you know, all these different situations that pop up. You know, it takes everybody in terms of all of these different clock managements and situations that come up throughout the course of the game.
So what was his message to you there?
What was Nick's message? Yeah, well, ultimately, like, before we got the penalty, it was, you know, we wanted to try to score. And, you know, on the 3rd and 20, like, you know, we're trying to make sure that we can ensure some points and get a field goal and not put ourselves in a situation where we lose yardage. And, you know, you have something safe that's going to get completed and that's going to be, you know, a decent play versus whatever looks they show.
You mentioned AJ. It wasn't just, I mean, his numbers have been down for 5 or 6 weeks now. What do you see in there? And you talk about forcing it to him. How do you balance, you know, whether you need to force it or just run the offense? Yeah,
I mean, AJ's a fantastic player, and, you know, he demands a lot of attention defensively. He's had a fantastic year to this point. You know, I think he's still on pace to have, you know, a career year. So AJ is somebody that obviously everybody in this building has a lot of trust, a lot of respect for, and we got to do a great job of getting the ball. I have to do a great job of getting him the ball.
How much does the second half game plan change when it goes from 21-6 to 21-14? And again, whenever your time is diminishing and as the game's going on that way.
Well, the game plan really didn't change much. It's always about us and our execution and what we do. You know, so, you know, unfortunately, what ended up happening, we had a 3 and out in that first drive, and you know, we had a 3rd and 6, and we ended up not converting. And, you know, you get the ball back and it's 21-21 and you go down and score. But, you know, I think just our mentality and our mindset, you know, nothing really changed for us in terms of the second half of how we wanted to attack, how we wanted to move the ball and how we wanted to execute.
Brian, going back to that second to last drive, you talked about the desire to get points there, regardless of if you're settling for a field goal. To that point in the game, the defense had conceded 3 straight touchdowns in the second half. Why didn't the defense's play that day factor into your decision in not trying to go for a touchdown?
Yeah, I don't know if I can answer that question for you. I don't know if I can answer that question, but for us offensively, in terms of the situation and what we were trying to accomplish, that was the mode that we were in offensively.
Just in general, Brian, in high leverage situations, not in this game, just any game. From your perspective, you're always trying to get the ball to A.J. Devontae Dallas. Nick tells us that all the time. But is there more of an impetus to get the playmakers, the big-time playmakers involved in those high leverage situations?
Yeah, for sure. You know, but I also think that all of those guys are more than capable, and you know, we always talk about the play doesn't care who makes it, and you know, we got a lot of guys on this team that can make plays and that have made plays throughout the course of their career and throughout the course of their time here, and we have a lot of faith and confidence and trust in all 11 guys out there, and when you do get in those high leverage situations, you know, guys are ready and willing to go out there and handle business and make plays when their number's called.
First drive of the game, 3rd and 2. What were you trying to do there? And because the thought of just trying to maybe control the clock yourselves and use your running game there, go into it.
Yeah, I mean, all of those 3rd and 2s are very very unique in terms of those guys and knowing a little bit of what what our mode is on some of those 3rd and 2s, and just based on that field position, we felt like, or I felt like it was a chance for us to potentially get an explosive play and create a chunk. So, again, when it doesn't work, like obviously I will accept that and move forward and continue to try to put our guys in the best position possible.
In general, when you have a game where you're not getting a lot of offensive possessions, does it change the way you call plays or the game plan?
Well, there's really 2 schools of thought to it. I think for us, like the biggest thing is you don't panic. Like you just go out there and just focus on the execution. Regardless of whether you have 12 possessions, 6 possessions, or 20 possessions. Like, each play becomes so independent. Now, what ends up happening is when you have less plays, mistakes become magnified. And so, you got to really focus on the cleanliness that you play with, the operation, the communication, and the execution.
You said that the expression here is the play doesn't care who makes it. In your experience in 30 years of football, does the player care who makes it?
Does the player care?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the player does care, and I think those are the type of people you want. Is you want people who want the ball in their hands. Like there is no doubt in my mind with the game on the line. Like Jalen Hurts wants the ball in his hands. A.J. Brown wants the ball in his hands. Devontae Smith wants the ball in his hands. Dallas Goedert wants the ball in his hands. Michael Jordan wanted the ball in his hands. But sometimes like that ball got passed to Paxton and Kerr, and they hit the shot as well. So. This is a team game. It is forever will be a team. It is the ultimate team game, and it takes everybody every single time. And fortunately for us, we have a bunch of guys who are more than capable of taking over games and being the best in the world at what they do. And we've got to just continue to keep working and put ourselves in a position to get ready to roll here.
All right, thanks, Brian.
Thanks.